looking back now, I think it was very beneficial. I have an aunt, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know how you were gonna be after," because she knew how my grandmother was and how important she was to me. So she's like, "Oh, I didn't know how you were gonna be, but you came out of it like so much stronger," and surprised her. And I mean, looking back now, I'm so glad that I did that because, like, I don't know if I would have be doing the things I'm doing now if I hadn't gone through that grief group. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do the grief group. I'm going to commit to doing it. And I committed to doing it. And sometimes you just have to commit to doing things in life that you don't really want to do, but you do it anyway. But now
Is
looking
there,
back a year later, I could see how beneficial it was.
do you think there's something that was like maybe holding you back? Because it sounds like, and I asked that question, Amanda, because it sounds like that maybe initially there was some hesitation in joining
I
it.
I don't know if there was hesitation about joining it. I just didn't know what to expect. I think that was the big thing. I'm like, I've never gone through grief. I don't have anybody I've really lost. I had a grandpa who I lost when I was 16 from cancer. But I mean, that's been so long ago. And that wasn't like I saw that person like all the time. And then I lost another grandpa like 6, 7 years ago. So I mean, like, I hadn't had such a big loss, but I knew I needed help. And I think that's the big thing. I knew I was going to need help. And I was like, there was other family members who really struggled with losing my grandmother more than me. And they didn't do the grief groups. So that's why I think it's a big thing for people just to seek help, even if you're scared to do it.
I think it would help because if I put myself in that situation, um, there isn't anyone that I would turn to initially. Meaning that if my
Yeah.
grandmother would die today, I can't say, "Hey, Amanda, there's 5 people that I can go to." There's a number of people that I would tell eventually, right, within the first couple of days, but there isn't anyone that I know that can go and say, "Hey, I need your shoulder right now because I just want to cry. I just want to lean on it." So the
Yeah.
grieving group is helpful because the way I imagine it, it's a space where no one is going to judge you. Everyone is there is experiencing something similar,
Right.
and there may be someone who's a little bit more experienced or a little bit more advanced when it comes to dealing with loss. Because, like you, I haven't had anyone that's close enough or important enough to me that has
Right.
passed. Like sometimes they'll tell you every time a family member dies, you should cry, but there's sometimes you have a family member that passes and you don't even know who the person is, so you don't
Yeah, that's
feel
how
that
it
kind of
is.
connection,
That's
right?
how it is though nowadays. Our family members are all over the across the US. Like we don't I mean like when I lost my grandfather like 7 years ago, I didn't end up going to his funeral. I wasn't close to him, and like sometimes I think you're expected to do things that you're just expected to do them because they're a family member, but I mean like life is just it's just a lot. And I think the biggest thing was getting in that grief group because I remember the first thing I so they had two group leaders, but one of the things was, oh, like introduce yourself and then say like whatever you want to say. And I just started crying. And I was and I'm like, I wasn't embarrassed about it. I was like, and I said, "Oh, my grandmother passed last week or whatever." But all of these other people, they've had people who had passed like year a year or so ago, 2 years before. Like some of them were new, and then some of them like it was still taking them a couple years to get past it. So I mean, it's okay. I mean, sometimes I think it's better to tell like strangers what you're going through than like people that are supposedly family.